Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, the Leo King, and we are here for Deep Astrology Live, where, of course, we go through the week's astrology and we try and find out what's going on by going deeper and deeper into the astrology, also taking a look at the charts. But, of course, I like to wrap and spiritually channel what's going on with the astrology first off. And this is for the week of November 13th through, I guess we're going till the 19th this week of 2019. And I'm sure you can tell we're at a different set today. We're having fun, moving around a lot of sets, getting ready for a podcast, getting ready for a lot of things. I'm up here on the High Vibe TV set, and lots of changes going on, not only here at the studios, but of course, lots of changes happening in all of our lives. And of course, last week we talked a lot about Jupiter that entered into Sagittarius, its home sign, which was a big deal. But this week, lots of other big deals going on. First big thing that I want to talk about is Venus coming out of retrograde, which has been, although I can't even believe it's already been since that beginning of October. I mean, literally here we are already, bam, Venus coming out of retrograde. And it's been going through Scorpio and back into Libra, its home sign, and went through the opposition to Uranus and went through the squares to the nodes. And here it is in its home sign of Libra, ready to move forward. And this is a breath of fresh air for Venus. And this is definitely going to put us deeply into trying to understand our relationship dynamics a lot, especially because even though, yes, the good news, Venus is coming direct in Libra, its home sign of relationships, its home sign of a cardinal sign, by the way, of taking action and initiative and weighing out a lot. But this is Scorpio time mixed with that. So, of course, there's still this deeper investigation going on our feelings and our needs and our wants. So when it comes to projects and relationships, this is definitely one of those weeks where we're going to start to see, I think, a breath of fresh air, but at the same time also kind of a deep, contemplation inside that's stirring about, okay, we know which ones we like and which ones we're all about, but these ones that are kind of on the fence, those are going to have to be decided on differently. Especially, things get really confusing this week, especially around a lot of areas of our life, because Mercury is squaring Neptune, and then it's stopping exactly at the square and going stationary retrograde on the same day on Thursday, or I think it's whatever day it is. I think it's going to be on the 16th, so I think that's Friday. It's going to be literally going retrograde the day of Venus direct. There's going to be one little point, which I'll show you all in the charts today, about how literally there's going to be this little window of Venus direct and Mercury direct that, if you got to get something done or figure it out real quick or hammer it out, you can. And then Mercury goes retrograde, squaring Neptune of confusion and delusion and a lot of things that we're trying to understand, or things looking better than they are, or us not getting all the facts truly, or people even trying to use certain kind of visualization points to try and make us think something's going on, but really it's not. And with Mercury at its detriment, what that means is that it's at one of its more lower energy signs. It's because Mercury, when it comes into Sagittarius, this small little Mercury is in one of the biggest signs of the zodiac, Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter's in its home sign, and this Mercury retrograde is squaring Neptune, which is in its home sign. And I think that this is actually going to be one of those weeks that is going to start to project you about what life is going to start to look like in the beginning of 2019. The reason why I say that is because we are going to be getting ready for Jupiter, which is going to square Neptune for the first time since 1852. And Mercury, that it's going to actually square Neptune, is giving us a little bit of insight here. It also is giving us a little bit of a replay of a big Sag, Pisces square dealing with Saturn that squared Neptune, which was in September of 2016. And I don't know if you guys all remember, but it was just a couple months later after that big Saturn-Neptune square that the election in America happened. And we were all in a weird place and beliefs being thrown around. And that was very Saturn-ish. But with Jupiter, it's extreme and big and, kind of throwing around ideas and beliefs and, what's real, what's not real. I mean, it kind of becomes kind of a circus. So we're entering into Circusville, especially because Mercury square Neptune alone is just, extremely confusing. It can be very bright as far as great ideas and visionary aspects, but it can also bring out a lot of weirdness, especially with Venus coming out of retrograde and coming direct at the same time Mercury's going retrograde. So definitely we're coming into a circus. Look at the moon too. The moon this week, it starts here as we're speaking in Aquarius, and it's going to make its big quarter square to the sun in Scorpio, this very dramatic two signs. And this is about, either extreme connection and let's go, or extreme I'm out of here. Because when you mix Aquarius with Scorpio, it's either extreme edge and excitement of I'm in and let's do all the crazy things we got to do to get there, or then guess what? It also is the big disconnect, like, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this. And this is all happening right before we go into this Venus direct and Mercury retrograde. And of course, the big thing that I think, of course, a lot of astrologers are going to be talking about Venus coming direct, and a lot of astrologers are going to be talking about Mercury retrograde. But Mars leaves Aquarius, it comes into Pisces. Holy moly. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, this has been a Mars year. The reason why I say that is because, of course, this was a big Mars retrograde year. It was a year in which Mars was definitely going through a lot, right? Mars, not only when it retrograded on June 26th of this year, it came into some very heavy aspects with the South Node in Aquarius, squares to Uranus, came back into its sign of exaltation Capricorn, came back direct in that space. Like, we were literally gone through what I've been calling an anomaly of just wild and neurotic almost energy, and very up and down and defining and who we are and what we want. And so Mars leaving Aquarius is actually kind of happy, although it is moving into Pisces, where it does take a rest. It does take a little bit of a vacation, because Mars in Pisces is definitely very of a weaker Mars. And it is going to be starting its square to Jupiter that just entered Sagittarius. And at the same time, right before it leaves and comes into Pisces, where we have to swim and where we have to kind of use our imagination. And actually, Mars in Pisces is a magician. It has to use magic. It has to use, its spiritual gifts. It has to use, these things to kind of accomplish and achieve the things we want in our life. But what's interesting about it is right before it moves into Pisces, Mars and Uranus are going to make a sextile. All during all this stuff going on this week with the Venus direct, with Mercury retrograde, square Neptune, and I mean, a lot of things that are going on. And why is this big? Well, one, when you add this moon in Aquarius and sun in Scorpio square, that's very intense without the nodes in fixed signs, because now the north node's in Cancer and the south node's in Capricorn. There's this huge aspect that's really brewing now of the moon truly, really going to express itself in true Aquarian form without being a little bit kind of weird. And I think a lot of this is us really feeling like, I don't want to be part of this, and what parts we want to go all in about. And then when you mix Mars sextile Uranus, this is what we call a mutual reception. Uranus is in Aries, which is in a Mars-ruled sign, Aries. And Mars is in Aquarius, a Uranus-ruled sign. So they're flopped, right? Mars would rather be in Aries, where Uranus is, and Uranus would rather be in Aquarius, where Mars is, right? So this mutual reception, though, wants to work together. And with Mars and Uranus, definitely about, I'm going to do whatever I want. I want to try new things. I want to break through all the barriers. I want to connect in an intense, crazy, wild, and extreme way. This brings it at a very extreme aspect while Venus comes direct with relationships and projects and seeing a glimmer and a beautiful ray. But at the same time, with some of the Scorpio finishing and then the Mars-Uranus sextile, this other aspect of us going, well, I want this and I want it to be that way. And this is where we're having that Uranian in Aries opposing Venus in Libra coming direct, all while Mercury squaring Neptune, of this kind of confusion. And are we doing something, toxic, or are we doing something, that's going to hold us back? I mean, are we getting all the information right? Are we delusional about things before we kind of just start charging with our egos and start charging in and out of things and going off feeling so extreme? There's not a lot of logical energy around in the universe right now. We're in much more of an imaginative space, which I think is great, because I think we've been in a very kind of neurologically kind of really, wrapping our heads around things so much. But now, it's like we just want to feel, we just want to kind of leave, we just kind of want to piece the hell out and connect intensely in. It's kind of a very bipolar vibe, and Venus in Libra definitely does not like bipolar. It wants fair and it wants balance, but everywhere else in the zodiac is going crazy, literally. So this week could be good though with the sun in Scorpio, trying to keep this all together of like, what is the thing that you truly want? What is the truth? What is the deeper meaning to all this? And more importantly, what is it that you really want to commit to in your life? And with Uranus in Aries and this Mars in Aquarius, sextile, this is adding to the mix because it's really pushing now this Uranus and Aries of what do you want and where do you want to connect and where do you want to go? And that's very Scorpio-like in itself. But without kind of the neurotic energy of I'm in or I'm out, of like out of nowhere, but like more of a radical processing of things out of nowhere. Scorpio's been processing it for a while, kind of like, yeah, I'm just kind of, no, I'm not emotionally feeling it. No, that doesn't really taste good. I don't like it. And so we're really coming into adjustments in our life. But with this Mercury retrograde in Sag, I think, and with Jupiter in Sag, and with Mars now in Pisces by the end, coming into this weekend and squaring Jupiter, before we just leap, like full blast into kind of, Magicville, we have to have some sort of understanding of where that's all going to go. So this week is really about looking at long term, and that's what Saturn, Pluto, South Node, and Capricorn are about with the North Node and Cancer, making sure our emotions are prepared for the big major choices that we make in our life. So this is one of those weeks where big choices come up, no matter even if it's a Mercury retrograde showing up or not. So of course I'm going to probably get 1,000 comments on here like, should I do this? It's Mercury retrograde. Or should I do that? It's Mercury retrograde. Or can I buy this? I really need it now. And all these things. Like, you're going to have to live your life. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to live your life. You're going to still have to make choices. You're still going to have to be living in Scorpio world, which is, we're still in Scorpio. It's almost like Scorpio has been invisible with all these other energies switching into different signs, and Jupiter, the biggest planet, moving into its home sign. And so the sun in Scorpio is kind of like, it's like we're kind of not paying attention to like, it's almost like we're getting the back part of Scorpio being the revealer, like, aha, see, you experienced that. Did you see what really was there? So there's almost like this caboose of the sun and Venus, right? They're in the back as Mercury's all the way forward, right? And Mars is charging forward. And then there's this huge charge forward of like, yeah, let's do this and let's go that. But we're dealing with so much Piscean energy and Sag energy now. I mean, it is, honestly, Pisces and Sag is a magical movie. It is a magical, beautiful place. But I think that we also need to understand our long term with the Saturn and Capricorn aspect. I think it's also important for us to remember that Uranus is in a semi-square with Neptune. And that has not gone away. It is not going away. So we need to really think about the long term and the whole picture before we really just kind of spiritually and kind of Neptunian-wise or like delusionally just start going, yeah. And when it comes to escape, huge. Mars in Pisces wants to escape. It wants to take a break. It's been through a huge retrograde. Even though it already took a break, it was not a normal retrograde. It was with the South Node. It got battered by Uranus. It got battered a lot. So, and it was been squaring Venus retrograde, and then it came into a trine with a Venus retrograde, so it didn't get fully everything that it wanted because Venus was retrograded. So, there's this aspect where Mars right now is coming into Pisces kind of like, well, if it's a magical adventure and, and also remember Pisces rules escapism. There's a part of us that might just really want to escape and go into some crazy wild lands, and that's why I put out last week and the week before the caution, and I'm truly saying this from a positive space. Jupiter in Sag is wonderful, but with Mercury retrograding in Sag, squaring Neptune, with Mars sextiling Uranus and a mutual reception, we really, and Mars entering into Pisces, before just escaping into wild, fun, crazy life, like, is it part of the mission? That's the Saturn South Node, and even Cancer, believe it or not, without Cancer, there is no mission. Without some sort of foundation, without your emotions in the right place. I want you all to kind of process this for a moment, okay? So, why does Cancer and Capricorn really deal with a mission? Well, let's think about Cancer. I've dealt with panic and anxiety attacks for a long time in my life. And so, sometimes I've been invited to we'll take, for example, when I got invited to the Oscars. It was awesome because one of my viewers at the time in 2014, believe it or not, was like part of the whole, the Academy and was able to get a ticket through this awesome woman who was also a viewer of mine. And I was able to go to the Oscars and like walk the red carpet and all that. But I was like in a huge anxiety time of my life, okay? And it's very hard to go to the Oscars. I don't know if you guys know. It's not like you can buy a ticket. Like it's, and especially walking that red carpet with like 300 cameras and all the people. And so I was not very comfortable going, even though I felt good in the suit that I bought, my tux, and I was like super vibing with it. The part is though, I really did not capitalize on the Oscars the best. You know why? Because right when I walked in and my emotions weren't great, man, I could have taken so many more pictures and maybe gotten in more magazines or gotten some interviews or something, but I just ran through that red carpet, took a selfie here, was so emotionally not comfortable, took a little selfie, took a little this, and just kind of got through. And I'm like, oh man, and they're like, no, sorry, sir, you can't walk backwards on a red carpet. You only walk one way on the red carpet. And I think that's a reminder of like this Cancer aspect with this Capricorn, South Node, Saturn, Pluto is like, okay, we got big things. But it's like, are you emotionally ready to take it on? Maybe you got to emotionally process things a little bit longer. And especially with a Mercury retrograde square Neptune, we don't want to just like lose things because we believe that will be good without even knowing or without even paying attention to the emotional and the truth of that sun in Scorpio that's saying, hey, before you it looks great, it's all good, but it's like, process everything. How do you really feel? Work on the feeling aspect of it. Work on those aspects of it, which I think is extremely important. When we look at this whole entire landscape right now, the astrology, it's beautiful. I think it's actually awesome. Maybe that's just Jupiter and Sag talking out of me right now. And so don't think of this at all as a negative or as a bad thing. This is an exciting, imaginative time. Super. But you kind of got to like look through it all, I'll use another really funny example. I remember this one person hit me up one time online. Oh, this is going to cause some triggers. But it's just real life and real stories. So I remember somebody hit me up, this chick. This is before I got married. And chick looked hot. I was like, yo, what up? Talking, all this stuff. And then I looked up the person's name and actually, it wasn't a girl, it was a guy. And I was just like, whoa! And nothing against that or anything, because I don't want to trigger people. But this is kind of that energy where we can look at things and look like it looks great, but like, do you know what's behind it? Like, and I'm not saying it's not great, but I'm just saying like, do you really know what you're going into? Like, do your research, Jupiter, Sag, before you just take the picture, Neptune, or the visualization of it right away. Do your research. Look at things a little deeper. Good thing I didn't hit on that person or do something crazy because I was like, and we're cool friends, but it was like, at the end of the day, I was like, whoa, was not expecting that. And I actually thought that was hot for a second, but because I really thought it was a girl, But that's the whole funny thing about Mercury squaring Neptune is like that aspect of like, is that really what it is? Is this really what I was all freaking going? Life's crazy like that. And I think that the most beautiful part about this is that's the only way that beautiful castles are built or beautiful things like Disneyland. Disneyland to me is Sag. Well, of course, Walt Disney was a Sagittarius, but when you add the Piscean element, it adds that fantasy, that fantasia aspect of it all. And I think that, the fantasia that we're in, or even better yet, I've always used the analogy of Alice in Wonderland and how, Alice, is so intrigued to go into the hole. She gets in the hole, she flies down it, and it's a wild, extreme, fun story, but there's also some fear there because the curiosity and maybe needing to fully process everything, but there is a lot of magic in it all. And also the funny part about Alice in Wonderland is her mother at the beginning is trying to have her read that book and she's bored and she totally pieces out. And what's interesting though is that's always the reminder of me of Saturn and Capricorn approaching, do this, read your book, do this stuff, right? But then like this Jupiter now in Sag and this Neptune in Pisces and Mercury in Sag squaring Neptune in a Mercury retrograde. This is a huge part where we're kind of living in an Alice in Wonderland story. And with the drama of all this Uranian energy, with Mars sextiling it, with the moon making a quarter square in Aquarius, I mean, this makes for out of nowhere just this huge jolt about things and then this huge, like, don't want to be part of it, you know? So just know that, and especially with Venus coming direct, especially with relationships and stuff, you want to wait till this Venus comes direct because weird things can happen from now until the 16th, you know, especially on Wednesday and Thursday about relationships with this Uranian energy, with this moon in Aquarius, of just like bailing out or changing direction or getting into some really weird relationship situation or some really weird project stuff. You know, you want to do all your research. You want to think about the long term. You want to think about, is this on your path and your mission? And I think that's extremely important, especially with Mars squaring Jupiter. Especially, this is the first time we've seen Mars and Pisces square Jupiter in at least over a decade, right? Since 2007. And I don't even know, I haven't done the math yet, if Mars in 2007 was in Pisces square Jupiter. Because you got to remember that Jupiter is a 13-month cycle. And Mars is a 2-year cycle. So Mars usually goes through half the zodiac in a year. So to be honest with you, I would have to do the math. Maybe we'll do it together in the charts. And actually, we'll get to the charts right now. And I want to remind everybody that the charts are brought to you by Astro Gold, which you can go to Astro Gold on your iPhone, on your iPad, or just go to Esoteric Software, look it up, Astrology. They got awesome stuff. Check it out. I use Astro Gold. They also got Solar Fire for PC, which I use. And those charts are brought to you by them. Let's see what's going on. Oh, well, actually, it's weird not being on the normal set, you know. We got Sprite today as the drink. I went back to the old school. Maybe Venus is coming direct. Oh, I needed that. By the way, in the last, I don't know, what is it, like Sunday night into last night? So in 24 hours from Sunday night into Monday night, I recorded 28 videos. I just did all the Jupiter and Sagittarius videos for all the sun signs or your rising or your moon sign. And then I did all the weekly sun sign horoscopes, and I've been doing the dailies and my weekly tarot and my intuitive, and now I'm doing this. So, and then I did the Viridian Summit, which I'll be putting videos up, which you can purchase from this weekend, which was awesome. We had a lot of awesome people here. We had Jax Atlantis, we had the Peace Dealer, we had Starry Ari and me, and it was super cool because we just really talked about some really deep spiritual knowledge. And it was interesting. I did a talk on fate and free will in 2019 and a collective free will choice about fate. And it was pretty intense and deep, and I can't wait to put out that video. You guys are going to love it. But just in the last, like 72 hours, including I'm doing multiple readings a day, I have literally not stopped talking. You would not want to be around me because I am like a talker, chatter, and I'm even talking and chatting to you now. So let's just get into the charts. So for November the 13th, which is today, I just ran the chart. I want to show you all that this moon is now in Aquarius for the first time in 18 months where there is no south node. No south node. Yay! I think that this is fun because the moon kind of feels cooler, chiller. We get to feel the Aquarian vibe. It's back to normal, especially this Mars aspect is very strong right now. It's very intense, especially because it's getting amped up by the mutual reception of Uranus, of wanting to make these things happen. Especially Uranus in Aries is kind of a wild person that's like, let's go, let's make it happen, and let's like find a way, okay? So out of nowhere, it was kind of heavy. I think it was heavy when the moon was down here through the south node in Capricorn. And when the moon comes into Capricorn for especially the next 18 months, you're going to feel really heavy, okay? You're going to feel super heavy because now there's a lot going on. The south node actually physically projects Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. So just remember that every time we've got this moon in Capricorn aspect, just make sure that you know it's going to feel really heavy, okay? And now the energy's gotten to a much more kind of intense vibe. Now that the moon is in Aquarius, it's starting to square the sun, but it's sextiling Jupiter, having some excitement about ideas, and then especially with Mercury, there's kind of a lot of excitement in the air about the future and making plans and some good news and things like that. And with Mars sextiling Uranus, just like finding ways to make it happen and get there to do that and connecting to lots of people and lots of cool places. So I would definitely use the 13th, and I'll show you the 14th and into the 15th to make a lot of things happen, especially as this rare Venus retrograde every 8 years, right? Venus retrograde's in the same area, but it's only once in every 8 years we see Venus at the last degrees of Libra getting ready to come direct, right? So we're at a stationary position. So this is bringing a lot of karmic, and fated relationship situations to the table. But do we make a choice on them right now? That's, I think, kind of the biggest question right now in our lives is, do we do that? Do we not? So let me turn my iWatch off. All these people are going to be hitting us up this whole time. No. Here we are. So, quite a lot going on here, but the 13th really isn't the big deal. No, it's not. The big deal here is going to start being seen here on the 14th. The reason why is because we're going to have Mars at 29 degrees. Now, anytime that Mars is at the edge of a sign, okay, when it's at the real edge, you really feel the Martian energy intense. Because it's like, especially more than usual with these two things that are going on. One, Mars is sextiling Uranus in mutual reception. So it's making Mars radical, edgy, intense, and wanting to connect and to make things happen and to get in a spaceship and fucking put the pedal to the metal and go full blast at radical aspects. And it actually has a little bit of edge and craziness. Like, if there's parts of our life that we felt bored, and especially with Saturn and Pluto and the South Node and Capricorn, where we're kind of redundant and doing all this energy, there's this part of us is like, fuck it, let's just go do this, and screw it, let's just go do this. Especially also because Mars was in a retrograde this year in Aquarius, and it was a long cycle. It was going through its whole entire cycle, and it hasn't even left. Remember, Mars was at 9 degrees when it was retrograde, and it was at 9 degrees Aquarius when it finally got out of shadow. So it hasn't even been out of its sign that it came out of shadow yet. It is so ready. Mars came into Aquarius in May actually it was at the end of April, right when Uranus was coming into Taurus. Actually, I think it was around the same time. Yeah, it was around May, because it was shadow period in April, and it was in Capricorn. And then when it came into Aquarius, Uranus was there, and there was a big square. So Mars is ready to get the heck out of here, but at the same time, it's kind of like wanting to just stay here. What does that mean? Well, I think that what I'm trying to say is that it almost wishes we could freeze frame life on the 14th here about, lots of excitement and kind of edgy energy and escapism aspects, because Mercury is going to be squaring Neptune. So you can see that 13 degrees. And then you can see 13 degrees of Pisces. And we are both in stationary spots, because Neptune will come direct on November 25th. So we're only about 10 days away from that, 11. Now, there's a lot of energy going on here, and this is exciting. But we need to just pay very close attention and look at all the options and look at all the opportunities and do some research, because we don't want to lose things. The reason why, Venus still stationary as well, getting ready to come direct within 48 hours. So, and actually less, it's about 36 from November 14th. It'll happen early in the morning on the 16th. So there's a lot of energy right now getting ready to shift, and there's a lot of shifting happening. And it's going to be a huge flop that's going to come, like really big when the 16th hits. Because if we look at the 15th, so we got November 15th here. Boom. Oh, this thing is not liking zoom in. I'm going too fast. Mars enters Pisces. Oh, man. So it's not the worst in the world. It's not like Mars is at its fall position here, like Cancer, but it is in a water sign. And Mars now is in the water world, especially with Neptune, Chiron. And this is where I want to paint a very, very clear picture. I think I painted it last week, but I have to almost reaffirm it in a more clear way today. Mars is about usually a 40-day cycle, right? Okay? So I think that it's important for people to remember that the choices we make now are going to be very important, because guess what happens in 40 days, or even less, in about a month? In a couple weeks, Mars is going to, let's get rid of Mars here. Mars is going to come on top of Neptune. And so Mars on top of Neptune can get very confused, very diluted, very kind of feeling almost hopeless or helpless. It can be compassionate and helping, kind of the army guy who's on leave who is helping the old lady with her groceries. Like, it's a good thing, but also, we can kind of feel disempowered, especially this will be during a Mercury retrograde. Then, if you look up at the end of this cycle, let's get rid of you. Okay. Then Mars, when it comes in a couple weeks on top of Neptune, it's heading to Chiron by the end of the cycle, okay? Which is kind of a deep, oh gosh, did I do it's a very guilty conscious spiritually. So we could make some choices, especially with Mercury squaring Neptune. We can make some choices with Jupiter squaring Mars, as Mars now is going to go off these kind of crazy delusional beliefs about things without maybe paying attention to, in what I brought up earlier about this structure of Cancer and Capricorn that's so important and is a backbone right now to make sure our realities are in the right comfortable place, that we don't want to, we need to think, over the next month about the choices we make, because they'll affect us at that point to where we could either feel truly at a loss or not at the right energy. And how ironic that, we start the new year with, Mars coming into Aries, big time, and in its home sign, which we're already dealing with a lot of planets in their home sign. So we'll be fine, but, we also don't want to go through some kind of chaotic situations over the next month, which I predict the next month will kind of feel a little chaotic just from a lot of this energy. But I don't think it's a negative chaotic. I just think it's kind of whatever. Now, the other reason why I want to bring up the 15th is because it's the last day before Mercury goes retrograde and Venus goes direct. And so with Mars entering Pisces, we almost don't, Mars is at 0 degree. Like, it literally just came in. So process things. Spiritually feel things out. And look at the moon on the 15th. It's going to come into Pisces on top of Mars. That could totally be like doubling down on some crazy, like, escapism, or I just want to like disconnect spiritually. I just want to like peace out in my own little like world. Be very careful of, although I'm going to be real. What I've always noticed about big squares in this energy too is this creates a lot of party energy. Like, people get like let's party. I think that the holidays, especially here, are going to be very kind of, especially around Thanksgiving in America and stuff, like very kind of people wanting to let loose, especially when you have Jupiter in its home sign. So, but be careful about where you're letting loose so much. With that Sun in Scorpio and with this Pluto and Saturn aspect in Capricorn with the South Node there, we need to have some sort of integrity and responsibility about things, or else I think it could really damage our emotional foundation, our own family, our home life, our emotional situations. So let's take a look at the big day, shall we? The big day. All right. And now I'm doing two charts for the big day of the 16th, because the first chart I want to do, which I kind of just ran, I know Venus comes direct earlier, but Venus direct. Definitely when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to projects, when it comes to things that make us feel better, this is definitely going to be a huge new energy for us with the Sun in Scorpio. It's definitely going to feel like, all right, you know, these are things I've processed deeply in my life about these projects, relationships, and it could feel like, I don't want to say that you made a choice, but it feels like you at least have weighed everything out. Now Venus has to go through the process of getting out of its shadow period, which is going to take a little bit of time. So don't just think this whole Venus retrograde thing is over just because it went direct. We got to get out of the shadow, because the shadow happened at 10 degrees of Scorpio, squaring Mars when it was just coming online. And that was during the whole Kavanaugh trials. I'm not trying to bring politics, I'm just trying to remind you guys a time period. And so that was a very kind of weird time. And so there was a lot that we all entered into our lives in that time, with relationships and projects and things we're valuing and stuff. And we need to get back to that zone and get over it until we really know what's going on here. But at least with Venus direct, it's going to kind of put things in our face to make those balanced judgments. And of course, don't forget that Uranus is in opposition. As it's going in retrograde, it's going backwards. So it's coming towards 25 degrees, where now here comes Venus coming towards 29 degrees of Libra, right? So, you know, Venus and Uranus are moving towards each other to oppose again, but in cardinal signs, and the nodes are still squaring Uranus, right? So you don't want to mess up your emotional life and where you're going and things that could really take you in the right place because of this kind of wild, I'll be honest, this is the ego starting to really pump up. And with the ego in Pisces, a delusional one, heading towards Neptune, heading towards Chiron, could be a big ego blow based off believing too big in things that might not be realistic or on the path. And with Mercury, which is stationary, this is where I'm kind of trying to show you by 222, ironically enough, I think that this is kind of a better zone if you got to finish something or like get some, you know, whatever you call it, like whether it's your mail handled or a bill, or especially because it's a Friday, like you got to get some stuff handled, like get it all handled, because Mercury will go retrograde, squaring Neptune, by the way, and here I have the chart exactly at the moment, 5:33 p.m. Pacific, 8:33 p.m. Eastern, Mercury comes retrograde, and look at that, direct squaring Neptune retrograde. Now, the last time that Mercury squared Neptune in a retrograde in a mutable sign was when Mercury went retrograde in Gemini in 2015 from the end of May until the beginning of June. I know I always like to drop bombs on everybody about timing. Now, the last one for me was hell. It was hell. Maybe because it was squaring my Uranus exactly, and Neptune was squaring my Uranus, and Mercury was opposing my Uranus. And I was going through a lot of anxiety and stuff. But I can tell you that Mercury in an, especially an intellectual sign, like Sagittarius and with Neptune, it's a little bit easier with Jupiter or with Sag. Gemini is way harder because that's its home sign and it's fighting Neptune. And so that's what I'm saying is the Jupiter square is going to be a big fight. And so this Mercury is going to help try and understand what this big fight's going to be about reality and belief and where's the adventure going and where are we delusional about things. So we need to be very careful about, over excess or thinking too big without, really looking at the repercussions later on and kind of like hammering things out. And even though that, yes, this is Saturn in a total risky area of taking risks, if we're going to take a risk, we need to like really plan out the risk right now and do the numbers, like get a calculator out if you're risking money, get something else out in your life if you're risking a relationship or if you're risking anything in your life right now. You really got to really plot it out, because right now things can become a little twisted and circusy. And also circusy in the way where we get caught up, just like on, I was going to say drugs. I don't like to promote drugs on this show. If you've never done drugs, or maybe you've done alcohol, or maybe you've never done anything, then I would call it like how you can get caught up in, I don't know, a sugar high. And if you don't like sugar, then I don't even know where to go next. Maybe you get really high off berries or something. I don't know. But like, there's a part of us that gets really caught up in the high of life, like, and thinks we can float through anything. True. Like, you'd think this would be a harsh aspect. The harsh aspect is how high we're going to go with our beliefs, how high we're going to go with our imagination. And that's not a bad thing, but the bad thing is there's a come down. And so we need to realize that we're stepping into a major high really quick. And the reason why I'm bringing up May and June of 2015 was that wasn't so much of a high, but so much more of a deep kind of, questioning reality and questioning and uncertain about if you're going to even make it through your life. This is about like you're almost so certain you're going to make it through with actually maybe not looking at some facts. And I'm not trying to say that the come down is going to be like, oh no, like you can't make it through, but Saturn is there to kind of say, hey, and especially, I don't know if you guys have done your research yet. Let's look at the chart real quick. Mercury's in a retrograde back to the last degrees of Scorpio. Well, that's 24 degrees, so it'll be right here. So it's going to be a reality check in Scorpio. It's going to be a Mercury retrograde trine Chiron again, trying to understand, some wounds and how to heal. Mars will be past Neptune at that time. So we really need to process a lot of things, and especially Mercury goes retrograde, Venus comes direct on the same day that we have this huge Piscean energy. We've got Mars, we've got the moon, we've got Neptune, we've got Chiron, and then the moon, 10 degrees. Let's get rid of all this crap here, okay? The moon, 10 degrees, by that late night will square Mercury retrograde while it's on top of Neptune. So you want to talk about getting real high on beliefs and on a Friday night? You know what? Talk about just being on a Friday night when all this stuff goes down, especially for Americans. You Europeans are probably going to be going crazy until way early in the morning, even maybe running into Saturday morning, But like, there's a lot of excitement here. But at the same time, it's about having some guard. The best thing to do would be to set a reminder every day at, noon on your iPhone to, am I in alignment? I'm going to set mine right now with you guys for the next month. Hey Siri, set a reminder every day for the next 6 weeks asking at noon if I am on track.
Okay, I'll remind you.
Boom. Because we are about to enter Willy Wonka factory. And for some people in Willy Wonka that didn't pay attention and didn't pay attention to the rules, you could turn into a big blueberry. You could drown in the chocolate lake. You can eat, or you could be vaporized into a little TV monitor. I think that's the cool part about this, but also the weird part is if you kind of become like Charlie and get through the factory here and have a great time, but know the rules and don't push them. I mean, he does push them a little bit with burping and drinking the soda and being able to fly up to the thing with his grandpa. And he also gets tricked a little bit too at the very end by Willy Wonka at the very end, kind of in the whole the whole contract thing, and you didn't make it and all this stuff, and he passes the test. There is a little bit of a test here coming. And it really is like, is this Wonka factory you're walking into really like all that you think it is? And can you really navigate through? There's a lot of like really glittery and really exciting and really kind of deceiving / stimulating aspects to all this, and even deep forms of escapism that, you know, we can really hammer down on. So I'd say that my biggest caution, especially with Venus direct now in Libra, is another positive aspect, saying like, weigh it all out, like, and especially with relationships, this can be some really weird relationship situations starting up, even more so, or delusional ones, or going into old ones, or trying to revive old ones, and whether that's business, or whether that's pleasure, or love, or sexual ones, like, whoa, like, don't believe the whole story until the end of this retrograde. Please, give this 3 weeks. Because during this Mercury retrograde as well, not only will it come back into Scorpio to bring us the raw, hard truth, which will be kind of the come down, but the sun is going to come when it comes into, when it comes. Some people are going to laugh at that. But the best part about this is during the Mercury retrograde, the sun is going to be on top of Jupiter when Mercury retrograde's back. Okay? It's going to be like Sun conjunct Jupiter, Mercury retrograde. Like, so we become even more out of nowhere when you're already in the factory. It's almost like shooting yourself up with like, you're already high and then shooting yourself up with like, I don't know, that limitless pill that Bradley Cooper takes and being like, woo, you know, like, yeah. And then there's a huge come down coming in the beginning of December, and Mars over Chiron and all this stuff. So you really don't want to get into a story that you get so high off of and you just are like totally in belief of it, and then it just flops on you. And what is Jupiter and Sag trying to do? Teach lessons. Look at all the options. Do more research. It is great. Experience it. But with the Sun in Scorpio, have some boundaries. Like, don't go to Jurassic Park. Go all the way to the cage. Don't put your hand through the cage and have the raptor eat your hand off. You know what I mean? Like have a boundary line. I think it's going to be extremely wild fun, though, and especially the reason why relationship stuff's going to be even crazier is during this Mercury retrograde, Venus will come in opposition to Uranus. I'm trying to think like the character it just sounded like on, it was that movie with Tim Allen, Starship something, or which one is it? No, I forgot he was Buzz Lightyear. No, the one where he's a TV actor on a show like Star Trek, but really he actually goes like into space. Somebody in the chat room might say it, but then the commander. So okay, where are we at? See, I'm already getting this whole horoscope today is pretty much kind of how the energy is going to be for the next month. Galaxy Quest. We are literally all going on a Galaxy Quest. That's an amazing way to put it. You know, where it's like, oh no, and then we go on it, and then is it really real? And then like it comes back, and maybe it was real, but you also get the realization that you're kind of back, you know? And then he realizes he can do the show, and he revives himself. Because if you remember in Galaxy Quest, maybe a lot of you haven't watched Galaxy Quest out there, I don't know. He's not into it anymore. He's just doing it for the money. He's drunk and just signs autographs. He doesn't really care. But he actually goes through a real Galaxy Quest and loves the show and becomes real. So this weekend, 4 planets in Pisces, you know. I mean, the moon is a luminary, but a lot of energy in Pisces, and we do have an asteroid. So it is a weekend where I think we just really don't know where it's all kind of going, but we're willing to go wherever it kind of takes us. And there's a lot of fun in it. But this Mercury is still retrograde. It is still squaring Neptune. This is going to be like a week long. Venus is direct. It's got to take some speed to get up. The sun's in Scorpio. It's not done yet. It's not really making any aspects. So at the end of the day, I think that this weekend's pretty cool. It can be fun, but of course with this Mars square Jupiter, like really, this could really be like people taking it way too far, energy or their ego or even fights, and belief fights starting off especially drunk fights. This is like huge for drunk fights. So maybe you might want to stay away from bars, and when somebody gets a little crazy, like run away. Or even if you're at Harvard or Yale, like intellectual battles that just are just like, whoa, like relax, like more research. You know what I mean? Nobody's figured it all out yet. And we can get in our own battles with relationships now that Venus is direct and wants to. Now when Venus comes direct, you know what it is? It's like the judgments start to come out, the analyzation of like, well, I really am this, and I weighed this out, and I'm weighing this out. I mean, it's a great weekend, but there is still, a lot of weird vibe. And of course, at least the Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn are keeping this Pisces somewhat together, so it's not going to lose itself completely. We're not going to go so far away that we're losing our minds. That's what I think is the reason why it's going to feel like we're not losing our minds. Capricorn is keeping things like, yo. It's like the best way to describe this weekend and for the next month is, and even pretty much 2019 in a nutshell, would be, there's like a playroom monitor. You know what I mean? Like, okay, kid, all right, that's enough. You've done too much now. You know what I mean? Like, stop it. The crayons belong in the crayon box. You know what I mean? Like, they should not be scattered all over the place. So it's like kind of having like a room monitor or hall monitor. When I went to elementary school, we're Californians. We have recess, and it's just like we don't even call them a monitor. We just call them like the lady who yells at us, which unfortunately was my mom in 5th and 6th grade when she joined my school, and I couldn't wait to get out of there because my mom was yelling at me at school and at the house, but not in a negative way. It was like we were playing tackle football, and that was like not cool because we were tackling kids and they were getting hurt, and I was getting hurt, and so we had to play touch whenever the teachers were looking. But do you really think we played touch? That's the whole thing. Is there's a lot of deceiving. There's a lot of like, oh, they're turned around, do it now. You know what I mean? There's a lot of that going on in a lot of different aspects in your life. So another part to put this, and I'm going to close this now because this I think has gone a little too long, is that at the end of the day, there's a part of us too that is just really drifty, and we have a lot of tasks to do, and then there's kind of like, oh wait, I forgot about that, or oh shit, I'm kind of just in this task, and now I'm watching a Netflix show, and now I'm watching a YouTube video, and now I'm texting, and now it's totally ADHDville, and there's no Adderall or whatever all that Ritalin or any of that around, none of it around, So it's kind of like what, and so just kind of try and find a way to not get pissed off at people in the way that they're at, and learn to go with the flow. Learn to go with the flow. Learn to be positive through the flow, and you'll be fine. But as long as you keep some sort of restriction or you keep some sort of rules set there, you'll be fine. All right, I'm going to end this one out here because if I look at the moon in Aries, yeah, that's cool with the trine of Jupiter. Let's just go straight to Monday. The reason why I'm going straight to Monday is because now we have Mars square Jupiter exactly. So we start the week with, I think, a lot of optimism, but also we need to make sure that we've researched things and things look clear. The other aspect is this moon in Aries is going to start squaring over to Pluto and Saturn. And of course, that happened on Sunday as well, the moon square Saturn. So I think that the party continues to kind of go, but there's some more reality checks. But I think that Friday I think that most this week, until we get to Sunday, so from Wednesday to Saturday, it's kind of a crazy, wild, free-for-all, freak-out, fun, wild, weird, all over the place. Saturday or Sunday into Monday, we start to have this moon in Aries that even though it wants things, it also is like getting the squares to Saturn and getting the squares to Pluto and Capricorn, like keep things together. And even though it also is getting big trines to Mercury retrograde and big trines over to Jupiter, I even look at that, it was just like flying off the page there. But that's the thing, is there's this now aspect where the moon has been very unhappy in Aries because it knows it has to hit Uranus, it knows it's been squaring Saturn all year, it knows it's been hitting Pluto. Finally, it's got some really positive Jupiter energy, and it's got even Mercury here. So I think that we start off the week awesome on Monday the 19th. Mercury's off the square to Neptune by a degree. And we really, I think, go into the world and the sun and Jupiter are getting closer. We're getting ready for that sun-Jupiter connection, and the sun is moving into Sagittarius next week. So really great times ahead. Truly, they really are. Just take some precaution, set a reminder. Are you on track? What are your boundaries? Are you losing yourself? Are you a little too faded away? Did you get too caught up in that Netflix video and that YouTube video? Are you getting into too many intellectual battles? Are you getting frustrated because this person's not doing this, or it's going too weird here? Like, be easygoing. You can still hammer the truth and hammer the things that you need, but very heavy Scorpio and Capricorn during a very wild Alice in Wonderland is not a very fun time. It depends on what side you're going to be. And I think with this Venus in Libra, it's about balancing out the extreme, wild, imaginative, explorative fun with the determination and the still needing to be on track and knowing your boundaries. If you can mix those together and make the alchemy of that, you're going to be living the dream. If you're on one side, you're going to go through a super high that's going to end with a very big downfall. And then if you're extremely serious and you can't handle any fun and any wild and crazy energy, you're going to be just depressed and the whole time, and then you're going to try and feel high during the moment when it all becomes real. That's your moment, but then you kind of realize like you kind of missed out on a lot of fun and a lot of opportunities and a lot of adventures and a lot of extreme fun that could have brought you to actually the goals that you want to. It's almost like the universe is taking us there on a weird, crazy Willy Wonka boat ride, which if you ever watch that boat ride, it is neurotic and weird. You either are Charlie and his grandfather laughing, or you're, I think it's the Texas Roper kid and the dad who's freaking out, or the mom who's freaking out in the back. So, where are we going to start with first? I guess Jupiter and Sagittarius. My videos are now available. You can get them now at inclusiveastrology.com. I go into understanding how this is truly the quest to your destiny, literally. Jupiter back in its home sign. I go through all about how all the planets are in their home sign and some of the big transits that are happening with Jupiter, the when it retrogrades, when it comes direct, and the galactic center point. Have you guys looked at Jupiter at the galactic center point and what's going on in the astrology at that time in November of 2019? Get these videos for each individual sun sign or your rising sign or your moon sign, whichever one. I prefer always the sun sign. I really hit the sun sign. Some people really are more rising sign people. It is up to you. I'm a double Leo, so it's kind of hard for me, right? I don't know what it feels like to have a different rising than my sun. I don't. I'm just all Leo, baby. So I just get Leo, and I make Leo. But anyway, those videos are now out, inclusiveastrology.com. And of course, go to on newsstands around the U.S. and Canada to get my 2019 Astrology Guide magazine. It is truly awesome. Thank you so much for posting the pictures. I truly appreciate it. I do want to show what people are doing so they understand how to be part of the reading really quick. And I am going to, let's do screen mirroring and let's do the MacBook Pro. Okay. So, where would you go? Tags, the Leo King. So, did it work, Craigie? So, this is what people are doing is they're posting up pictures with them, with the magazine, and then they're putting in hashtags, astrology, the Leo King, astrology guide, and then every week I am picking a person for a free Future Life subscription for 6 months, and at the end of the month I'm giving away free reading, and it's awesome because at the end of the day, you're always entered in just once you do this, once you go buy the magazine at Barnes & Noble's one of our lowest producers, believe it or not, so it's at grocery stores. See, this person's at I don't know where they're at. A lot of grocery store stuff. Walmart, we're at the front checkout, believe it or not. But if you do this, you're in it, and every week I'm giving away a Future Life TV free subscription. So don't miss out on this, you definitely don't want to miss out. So thanks for all the support. For all those people that have been posting the pictures, it's been so awesome. And it's cool because if you do post a picture, there's been so many, but I've been putting it out on my Instagram, putting with the picture of you up and saying thank you to you personally. So it's a great way also as well to reach out to the astrology community and reach out to other people as well. So thank you for all the support. You can also go to onnewsstandsnow.com. And of course, if you want to purchase a reading from me, You can always get that at theleoking.com and just click on consultations. Thanks so much for all your support. Thanks for the support for Deep Astrology here. Of course, get ready. We are moving this show to futurelife.tv. I have heard all the people's complaints. Some people say that they have problems streaming. That's because their internet's not fast, and we are working with the back end for people who have very slow internet to be able to stream with no problems, to be able to put the video down to like 240p. That's what YouTube does. So that's easy. It's just in the back settings, and we've already set that. And anyway, just get prepared. The show's moving. And we are going to do a Cyber Monday sale for Future Life to get you on for super cheap. So it's going to be out there. I think that's in 10 days. But anyway, I appreciate all your guys' support. Thank you so much. Make sure you get those Jupiter and Sag videos. Look out for the Viridian Summit videos I'll be putting out soon. And that talk that I do about fate and free will. And I also have some other cool stuff that we filmed that I'm going to be putting out real soon here on YouTube. And a new podcast, and there's a lot going on. Thanks so much for all your support, and I will see you all next week.